All right, Chief, nobody's going live in about 30 seconds. That's all right.
You guys hear me?
I hear you.
You can hear me?
I can hear you.
Hey, everybody. Like the seasonal flu, we are back, baby. Welcome to Vikings Report Rewind. I'm your humble host, Ted Glover, with my normal partners in crime, Christopher Gates, the founder, lead blocker, and numero uno honcho on the SB Nation Minnesota Vikings blog, The Daily Norseman. And as always, my partner in crime on Vikings Report with Drew and Ted, Drew Bunning. In the background, we got Ruby making it all happen with the technical expertise and stuff. 4-1, gentlemen.
Yeah.
4-1. It's an ugly 4-1, but it's better than an ugly 1-4, I think. Chris?
It's a hell of a lot better than what we saw in the London game this morning, as far as I can tell. But yeah, we're 4-1. It doesn't matter how ugly it is. We're 4-1. That's all that matters.
Drewster, how the hell are you, man? My friend, it's been a while.
It's been a while, and I wanted to start off by thanking everybody for their well wishes for me. It's been a long 2 weeks, but it's good to be back here with you guys, talking some football, getting some normalcy back, and moving forward. Of course, the Vikings don't make it easy on me.
The Minnesota Vikings are incapable of easy football.
How they're the most impossible team to break down. I mean, how do you break down this game, guys?
Drew, you want to talk about getting back to normalcy? This is about as normal as you're going to get watching this football team do what they did today.
Well, there you go. Well said. Well said. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here at Vikings Report. It's good to be back on the air.
Yeah, we got some people tuning in. We'll get to the comments here in a little bit. I'm trying to do double screen stuff here. But man. I mean, look, the bottom line is the Vikings are 4-1.
Yes.
How they got there, we can debate, we can argue. But I want to ask you guys. I want to ask you guys a question to start this show off. Drew, is this Minnesota Vikings football team good or not?
Why do you have to start off with such a difficult question? I would say they can be.
Okay.
When they remain disciplined and keep focused on the job at hand. There's nobody in the league that's beaten that team in the first quarter. Nobody.
No.
They were strong defensively, offensively. They were unstoppable. And if they could play like that for 4 quarters, I mean, it's hard to have a team play like that for 4 quarters, that dominating. But I think they can be a good team, and I think they're on their way to being that, Ted.
Okay, that's an acceptable cop-out answer. Sure, I'll take it.
Best I can do. Best I can do for the fan base.
Chris, what do you think? Is this a good football team or is it not a good football team?
Let's see how many negatives I can jam into this sentence. I don't think you can say that they're not a good team. I think they're a solid football team. I mean, they have their issues. I don't know what this is, because we talked about, last year with Zimmer and the killer instinct and all that other good stuff. And, when this team got up 21-3 late in the second quarter, we thought maybe, this would be just stomp on the gas and, go on to an easy victory. But this team doesn't do that. It doesn't matter who's coaching, doesn't matter who's running the plays, doesn't matter who's calling the defense. This is just what the Minnesota Vikings do. So they're good enough, I guess, is a way to put that.
Okay. Bill Parcells famously said, and you are what your record says you are. And that is something that has stuck with me for a long time. Parcells said that, I don't know how long ago, 20, 30 years ago. And it just has stuck with me. I mean, good football teams figure out a way to get to 4-1. bad football teams figure out a way to end up 2-3 or 1-4, and don't figure it out when they absolutely have to figure it out. Now, look, we can talk about this game all we want and the kind of the season in a nutshell, and we will. But I think it's almost impossible to discount the fact that the Vikings are 4-1 and alone in first place, not only by a game, but with the tiebreaker. So essentially 2 games over the Green Bay Packers. And that's something that has to be brought into this equation, I feel.
And they're already 3-0 in the division, which is huge.
Yeah, they got 3 division wins at home, which was enormous.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So kind of, I guess the best thing we could do is just sort of start from the beginning. The day was set up wonderfully. We woke up with the Packers playing in London, and they lost to the New York Football Giants. So the Vikings had a chance to get to first place, free and clear in the division, along with the tiebreaker. And they come out, look very much like they wanted to do that. It was Kirk Cousins sets a team record for consecutive completions to open a game, 17 straight, breaking Tommy Kramer's record. And the thing that struck me coming out with the Vikings on the very first drive is they went no huddle, up tempo right away, and they were attacking the Chicago Bears. They didn't let the Chicago Bears set the defense. They kept them on their heels, and before you know it, with Kirk and Justin Jefferson playing pitch and catch, you look up and it's 14-3, and you think, man, the Vikings are going to blow the Bears out of this building.
Yeah.
We know better. We should know better by now. The fact that we don't know better by now says more about us than it says about anything else.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
that's fair. I wrote on the Gallahorn thread, the game thread, that I've been watching the Vikings. This is now my 52nd year. I mean, I'm old and everything, but that was right up there with the top 5 drives I've ever seen the Vikings have. The execution, the play calling, everything. That first drive it reminded me of the Fran Tarkenton days, picking people apart, going down the field. I mean, it was just like, that was beyond just a good drive. Yeah, that was an amazing drive.
14-3, they have the Bears complete on their heels. Vikings come out and they did this trick play. It was like a double screen. It was like Kirk threw it. I don't know. He threw a screen pass. Jefferson threw a screen pass. And I don't know. They got down to like the 2-yard line, whatever it was. And I'm thinking to myself, this is the funnest offense I have seen maybe since 2009, maybe even going back to 98. I don't think they have the same big play guys at the.
And that was a hell of a play design too, because Cook had an army in front of him on that.
Right.
He did. Yeah. Kirk flicked the screen out to JJ, who threw it back to Kirk Cousins, who had the entire offensive line in front of him. It looked like an armored column rolling through the streets of Baghdad for like 5 minutes, man. Yeah, that was awesome.
That's a play call you don't make unless you have full momentum and a big lead. That is like the perfect call at the perfect time, but that was a confidence call by O'Connell in there.
It was. And then Drew, you talk about this crucial handful of plays
every game.
And it came down to that again. The Vikings were up 21-3. The Bears, they had pinned the Vikings deep. The Bears had punted, almost got a touchback almost got pinned the ball to 1, but it went in the end zone. Vikings had the ball in the 20. They got out to the 50, and I thought that wasn't a bad drive. Look, you're not going to score on every drive,
right?
Dalvin Cook had a couple runs, and I thought, well, Wright will punt the ball, he'll pin the Bears deep, and with not a lot of time left in the half, I was feeling pretty good about where the Vikings stood. And then there was the shank punt that netted, I think, 5 yards. The Bears started midfield. First play, Darnell Mooney makes an absolutely incredible catch. And then David Montgomery walks in from the 9 on 3rd down. I don't know. I don't know what play was more. I mean, you could talk about the Moody play.
No, the Montgomery one was worse. You can't let him run it in. They're playing for a field goal, Ted.
Yeah, that's exactly what they were doing. And you can't let Montgomery walk in from the 9 on 3rd and goal on a run play. I mean, even a field goal there after that Mooney play, that catch, even a field goal there would have been a win for the Vikings, I think.
Sure.
But man, that kind of changed the entire tempo of the game. Now, I will give the Vikings credit. They got the ball back. I think they had on their own 25, a minute 3, 2 timeouts. I thought they ran a pretty good 2-minute drive to get Greg Joseph into field goal range. And like now, Greg Joseph apparently can't make a 50-yard field goal to save his life because he made it first one of the year. He's missed 4 straight, Chris.
Yeah, he's missed 4 straight from 50 plus. I mean, due to special teams player of the week last week. I mean, what the hell is going on? I don't understand. I mean, and now anything longer than 50 yards, he just pushes it to the right or he gets it blocked and there's no chance of it going in. So that's I don't know.
I still feel they didn't push the ball enough at the end of the half. I think they were going.
Why is that?
Just lots of flares and screens and little chunks of yards. I'd like to see them push it a little bit further to get a better setup for your field goal kicker. I mean, it's like they were playing that for the outskirts field goal of a 50-yard plus, and it was like, I don't know. I just like to see them the way they were attacking the whole first half. I would like to have seen a crossing route to Thielen or something. It seemed like they were going up for a lot of short passes, which they continued into the third quarter. But
okay,
they got the field goal range, and the kicker missed it. You can't ask for much more out of the offense. The offense's job is to get in the field goal range in that situation. They did, and he didn't do it.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. So the Bears score within the final 2 minutes. They get the ball to open the second half, and they came out and they went right down and scored, failed 2-point conversion, and now all of a sudden, a 21-3 game has become 21-16.
I gotta ask you, not to interrupt, Ted. Go ahead. I gotta ask both of you guys. At halftime, how secure were you feeling about the Vikings victory? Be honest.
Again, because I'm incapable of learning anything, I felt more secure than I probably should have because, the Vikings offense was rolling. It was 21-10 at the half. And, I don't understand what happened from when they went into the locker room and then the opening portion or most of the second half, actually. But I don't understand that. I felt pretty good after, the first half was over and done with. So
Ted?
Yeah, that's me.
I was feeling okay. I kind of thought this was, the first 4 games of the year, the Vikings have showed a little bit something different. They appeared a little bit more resilient, and that touchdown right before halftime didn't really bother me. I thought, okay, they'll figure it out. They'll get the ball back, score a touchdown, or a field goal, will be 24-10. I'll be fine. I didn't start feeling kind of uncomfortable. And I was a little bit uncomfortable because, you just get that, shank punt, Bear score. This is the moment. This is the moment when the Vikings start ralphing on themselves.
That's how I felt.
But I thought going into halftime, they'll figure it out, and they didn't. And when the Bears scored that second touchdown, I thought, oh, yeah, okay.
I wasn't confident at all at halftime.
All right, real quick, before we get any farther, folks, thank you so much for joining us. You are watching Vikings Report Rewind Live with Christopher Gates, Drew Bunning, and myself, Ted. We've got a whole bunch of people in the chat room right now. A couple people have asked what I'm drinking. It's a New Glarus. What is it?
It's not Lima Bean Ale, is it?
It's not. It's an amber ale, and it's a good beer. And for all the people that are in the chat room right now, all you need to do, we're going to give away a prize. It's from the Vikings Report Prize Vault. You can check out the Prize Vault over at VikingsReport.com. All you need to do to enter is make an entry in the live chat. Just say hello, how are you, whatever it is you want to say. Chat with everybody else. We got a whole bunch of people interacting. Go ahead and like the show. We got a whole bunch of people in, but only 9 likes. So give us a bunch of likes if you would. Subscribe if you like what you hear and like what you see, and we'll keep going. So, yeah, the Vikings win. Halftime 21-16. Drew, what were you thinking at 21-16? Did you think the Vikings were going to win or the Vikings were going to lose?
Come on, Ted. I'm always thinking the worst because I've watched these. I don't know. Bears had all the momentum. I mean, coming out in the third quarter and then they score. It's like, my thought was, you cannot dominate a team like this to the tune of 19 first downs to 5 22 minutes of possession time in the first half and 307 yards in the first half. You add up those things, you cannot lose this game where it's a horrible loss that's going to stick with you all the way to the end of the season. That was my thought. And they gave up that last, that beginning of the third quarter. They let Fields get into a groove, and it was kind of pissing me off that he was beating us with his feet. I was on the edge of my seat, man, thinking, here we go again. Here we go. That's truly what I was thinking.
Okay, Stuart Anderson says, when I'm pacing the room because I'm afraid Justin freaking Fields is going to march down the field and win with a last-second score. Something is terribly wrong.
Someone just said something about, I can't remember where I saw it. Justin Fields in the second half went 12 for 13. That dude couldn't have hit water falling out of a boat going into this one, and he went 12 out of 13 in the second half against this. I don't know what the hell Ed Donatel is doing, but it's not working.
You know,
It's a great point. That's a great point.
A couple things I noticed throughout the game. Ed Donatel is not putting his playmakers in position to make a play. And I can't remember exactly where it was, but it looked like the Vikings were going to come with a fairly an all-out blitz, 6-7 guys. And at the last minute, both Darius Smith and Neil Hunter dropped back in coverage. And it was like a fairly crucial moment in the game.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself after that play, why in God's name are you putting your two best pass rushers back into coverage and not bringing heat on a guy that's just not that accurate? I mean, look, I respect Justin Fields' ability to run the ball and get out of the pocket. Had it not been for a phenomenal acting job by Cameron Dantzler, that one touchdown run that Justin Fields had that was called back looked like
on the penalty by Smith Marset.
Yeah, that looked like it looked like the Michael Vick experience from way back in 04, 05, whenever it was when Vick scored on that OT run and touchdown. But I just don't understand why the Vikings defense is playing as soft as it's playing, if that makes sense.
No, I mean, I don't know if it's, you would think if they don't believe they have the talent in the secondary with all the young guys that they're having to run out there, you would think that they would want to try to get guys like Hunter and Smith rushing more frequently to try to get pressure on quarterbacks. Like I said, I have no idea what Ed Donatel is trying to accomplish as the defensive coordinator here, but I see people constantly say he's doing the same thing on every play, and if that works for a while, I guess, but once the opposing offense figures out what the heck's going on, it stops working and he doesn't change.
Drew, do you think it's still a matter of the team learning the scheme?
I don't think it is. I think the whole reason you bring in the 3-4 compared to the 4-3 is that you could do so much more with it. Disguising, blitzing, all that. The 3-4 opens up a lot of doors for that. And we're not opening the doors for that.
No.
We're running a 3-4 base thing with the same plays every time. I don't really get why we're not more aggressive with the thing. And Ted's right. You got to leave those guys rushing the passer. My first take coming into this show, if we lost, was going to be the Bears aren't very good. They're not a very good football team. They're not. And their quarterback is not very good. And you lost to them. That was going to be my take unless the Vikings pulled it out. And they pulled it out. Everything's fine. But still, defensively, I do not get what they're doing. Ted, I don't think it's a personnel thing. I think it's a scheming play calling thing. I do, because it's like, you should be doing a lot more with that 3-4, and he's not doing it.
I'm kind of feeling the same way, Chris. Are you thinking this, or are you thinking something different?
No, I mean, they've had all offseason. They had the preseason, and now we're 5 games into the regular season. I don't think it's a matter of learning the scheme, learning the play calls or anything like that anymore. I think Drew's hitting the nail on the head. He's just not making any kind of adjustments, and he's doing weird stuff. I mean, like you said, with dropping Smith and Hunter into coverage when they should be going after a quarterback that's not very accurate and just hasn't been very good this year.
So now I want to talk about real quick what I thought was a turning point in the game that would changed the complexion of the game in the Vikings' favor. The Bears go down and score. It's 21-16. They miss a 2-point conversion. Dantzler made a hell of a tackle on that screen pass. The Bears
baby.
Yeah. And the Bears try an onside kick.
Oh,
He goes like all Scott Frost against Notre Dame, or not at Notre Dame. They're in Ireland, whoever the hell, Northwestern. He goes all Scott Frost against Northwestern when they were playing in Ireland. And the Vikings recover, and they're on the Bears side of the 50. I'm like, oh,
What?
here we go.
yeah. What
Here
the
we
hell
go.
is he doing?
You got that first half offense that was cooking. They're going to go right down and score. It's going to be 28-16.
What a dope.
Yeah, and
Absolute ass crack call.
and the Vikings can't even get points off of that. I mean, they can't even. Joseph misses another field goal, and that's when I sort of thought, Vikings might not win this game.
Right.
That's when I really thought they were in real danger of losing this football game. I don't know about you guys, but that's where I just first had my
When
shit moment.
when they recovered that onside kick, after laughing with my wife because it was a really ridiculous call at that point when you got the momentum, really dumb thing to do. I told Ruby, I said, Tootses, now we got to make them pay. Now we take the game back. Now we drive the field and get a touchdown. We take the game back. We take the momentum back. We take this game back and we step on their throat right here. That's what I was thinking. Make them pay. And they didn't.
No. And I thought that was a moment in the game that we would look back on and go, this is where the Vikings lost, because not only did Joseph miss the field goal, Chris, it put the Bears in it gave the Bears again really good field position, and I think the Bears went right back down and scored.
Yep, they certainly did. Yeah, that was where they took the lead, and yeah, I mean that really could have been a positive momentum shift for the Vikings had they done anything with it, because that was just a ridiculous call by Eberflus. I don't know why he thought he could pull that off, but
Really dumb.
If the Vikings get that ball and push it down the field and actually get some points on the board, I think that kind of could have been the end of things for the Bears. But no, they managed to botch it. And yeah, Joseph got his field goal blocked, and it was still 21-16. And yeah, the Bears went down and scored after that. And it was a football game again.
Yeah. And so the Bears end up taking a 22-21 lead.
Unreal, dude. We're sitting there watching the game going, how are they ahead?
I couldn't believe
How
it.
the hell are they ahead in this game?
I wanted to just go back and watch the first half until like the first 28 minutes, the first half, and just call it good and call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
Because that first, we talk about, Chris, Drew and I talk about our college teams, Ohio State, Michigan. That game looked like, for the first 28 minutes yesterday, that looked like Ohio State against Michigan State on Saturday.
Yes.
The Vikings were absolutely boat racing the Chicago Bears. And they were on the verge of running them out of the building. And then it just sort of slowly fell apart. And I'm going to give full credit to the Chicago Bears here.
Yes.
It would have been easy at 21-3 when you're on the road and everything's going against you. It would have been very easy to check out and just say, let's let the clock run and get the hell out of here. And they absolutely did not do that. They came and they played football, and they played football for 4 full quarters.
They did. Yeah, you got to give the Bears credit, because, that's a situation where you see teams just, fold up the tents and, like you said, go home and get ready for the next week. I mean, especially the Bears, they got a short turnaround this week because they host Thursday Night Football. But they could have easily just kind of rolled over and let the game get finished as quickly as possible. But no, they fought tooth and nail right to the very end of this one. That's credit to them.
One of the big plays, and I kind of thought, well, this might be a difference maker. I talked about that Dantzler block in the back. It looked like Justin Fields had scored on a busted play, very similar to Michael Vick in 03-04 against the Vikings in overtime.
Unbelievable, dude.
Yeah, and that very well could have been a backbreaker. But Drew, like you said, Amir Smith-Marset was called for a block in the back that Cam Dantzler should win an Academy Award on.
Yes.
I'm going to lie.
That was acting.
That was a very ticky-tack call, but it worked in the Vikings' favor.
That's what you're trained to do, though.
Yeah.
Sell it. Sell it, Ted. Sell it.
He absolutely did. He sold it. He sold it like a hooker in Europe, baby.
Oh! Now we can start the show.
I really thought you were going to go for a wrestling reference there rather than the hooker thing, but you did not.
He sold it like Razor Ramon getting the rock bottom off the rock back in.
I'm watching Justin Fields come through the secondary, and I'm going, "Are you shitting me? Are you kidding right now?"
The first thing I thought of was that Michael Vick run when he was with the Falcons way back in the day. It looked so similar to that run.
First thing I thought of was, I hate Ohio State. That's what I thought.
Well, so anyways,
but you think that all the time. That's not different.
That's true.
That's true.
Well, so anyways, that sort of changed things for the Vikings. The defense bowed up. The Bears kicked the field goal, took a lead 22-21. But you're thinking, okay, well, this could have been worse. And the Vikings, man, say what you want about the Vikings and their second half collapse, because there's a lot to talk about. Don't get me wrong. But let's talk about Kirk Cousins being clutch when he has to, because Chris, if you could look up how much time was left when the Vikings started that epic drive to take that the go-ahead lead.
It was a 7-minute drive. Exactly 7 minutes.
The Bears kicked the field goal with 9:26 left.
There we go.
To make it 22-21. And then, the next drive from the Vikings, 17 plays, 75 yards, 7 minutes, 5 for 5 on third down on that drive. The six was either 5 for 5 or 6 for 6. I can't remember if that counts the touchdown or not, but they converted every third down that drive. And Drew talked about how impressive the opening drive of the game was. That drive was every bit as impressive as what they did to start the game.
I would call that drive even more impressive because the Vikings were really up against it. They had lost a big lead. They had lost an 18-point lead, trailed by 1, and they go on a 17-play drive, converting 5 third downs. Kirk sneaks it. And like the big thing and as big as that drive was, let's talk about the Bears being forced to burn 2 timeouts before the 2-minute warning. That really put them behind the curve in trying to get the ball back and go down and score and at least tie it up.
They should have been more behind the curve. They had the incomplete pass, which I couldn't figure out, to Jefferson, and then Cook ran out of bounds. And I'm going, there shouldn't be more than like a minute left on this clock.
Yeah.
So they were running plays where it was saving every amount of time for Chicago to get. I mean, some of those calls were like, I'm thinking, all right, now they're going to run it up the middle a couple times and make them use their timeouts, and they throw an incomplete pass. And I'm going, no, that's not what you want to do right here. But that was a dagger drive, and that was the difference of last year and this year. When we needed it, we got it.
Yeah, Kirk.
That was a hell of a drive.
Engineered a hell of a drive, stuck it in. Vikings took the lead. And then I think the Bears got the ball with under 2 minutes left.
What were you guys thinking right there? Come on, what were you feeling right there?
After the Vikings scored?
Yeah. When the Bears got the ball back.
I didn't. With only one timeout, they had to drive the length of the field. I didn't think they were going to go. I thought they might get down to about the 30-ish or whatever, but I didn't think they were going to score a TD. I really did.
Okay.
Yeah, after the Vikings scored, I felt pretty good. I felt less pretty good after that pass from Fields to Montgomery. They got the Bears to about midfield. But after the Vikings scored, I felt pretty good about things.
I was waiting for it to come down to the 6-yard line on 4th down. That's what I was waiting for.
Well, and we'll talk about the final play other than victory formation. Guys, I think I said, I could be wrong, but I think I said sometime in the preseason that Amir Smith-Marset was going to win a game for the Minnesota Vikings at some point this year. And I'm just going to go on record and I'm going to say I was right, because he catches a pass, he's trying to get extra yards instead of getting out of bounds, and Cam Dantzler strips it, forces the turnover. Vikings get the ball, victory formation.
I think we can absolutely give you credit on that one between the fumble and the penalty that wiped the long Fields run off the board. I think Amir Smith-Marset deserves a share of the win. Yeah. Absolutely.
No, let's give it up for the needle. The needle, Cameron Dantzler. That was a hell of a play. That is beyond what you plan on doing, tackling somebody. That is going the ironic as it seems, Peanut Tillman. That was the Peanut Tillman play on the Bears. That was great defensive play, individual play. Cameron Dantzler, you're the defensive player of the game.
Absolutely.
So let's go back a little bit. So it's 21-19.
Yeah.
I meant to talk about this earlier. It was like fourth down. The Vikings had the ball. It was like fourth down.
Right.
And Kirk goes deep to Jefferson, who was like triple covered.
What a dumb play. What a dumb call.
But the Bears were called for defensive holding. And I thought, okay. All right, this is going to be another bailout play, and the Vikings are going to capitalize. And like Kirk throws a pick. On the replay, C.J. Ham was wide open, short, but he tried to go not deep, but kind of medium route to Thielen. Bears defender read it very well, picked it off. Did you like the fact that Kirk was aggressive there? Because everybody complains about Kirk always taking the checkdowns, cowardly checkdowns.
The cowardly checkdown.
Not throwing deep. When he's got a guy there, it was a critical point of the game, and I get that, and it was a bad interception. But are you liking Kirk's new, more aggressive approach? Because I think in years past he would have checked down and taken the safe play there, Chris.
No, I did like the idea of trying to push things and get points on the board, because the Bears had what they thought was a fourth down stop, and it got negated by a penalty, and that's pretty deflating for a defense. So try to go right at them right away and see if you could make something big happen. And Kirk tried that, and it just didn't work out that time. But I think it works out more frequently than it doesn't work out, and if he continues to be this aggressive, it's going to continue to be a positive for him. So I did like the idea, even though it wound up being a bad result.
Our buddy Rhino from Vikings Uncensored says the one time they should have thrown at the Ham.
That was 100% the right play call. To throw it to Thielen. I don't have any problem with it. Because he's completed that pass about 29 out of 30 times he's thrown it this year. And it was a great play by the defensive player, and 9 out of 10 times he's not making that play. He's not noticing where Cousins is going to go. If you notice on the replay, the defender snuffed that thing out. That was a great play by him. But normally that's a completion. That every single time. But you know what? You gotta go for that. You gotta go for that play. And if you're gonna start calling Cousins and he didn't throw the check down and all he throws is check downs. I mean, come on. You gotta cut him some slack somewhere.
You can't bitch about Kirk throwing nothing but check downs, which he doesn't. But you can't bitch about Kirk throwing nothing but check downs, and then bitch about him throwing interceptions when he gets more aggressive.
Right. Right.
I mean, I don't know.
And
that's exactly right.
I'd like to point out that for Mr. Can't Get It Done late in games, I believe this is the third straight week with a fourth quarter game-winning drive engineered by number 8.
How many?
I'm sure that's
how many?
3 in a row.
Three straight in a row.
Pretty good for a cowardly quarterback, huh?
That's pretty darn good. Yeah.
Wow, a lot of stat padding there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I didn't have a problem with it. He got picked. It was a great play by the defender. I mean, that was a really great play.
Let's talk about this evolution of Kirk Cousins.
Let's talk about it, Ted.
Because when he got here, his reputation was a stat padder, garbage time guy that couldn't make plays when his team needed him to make plays. And I would argue in 2018 that was a fair argument. The Vikings underwhelmed. They didn't play very good offensive football. And I would argue a lot of Kirk's touchdowns came when the game was pretty much decided and not in the Vikings' favor. I think it changed a little bit in 2019. He had that big play, the big throw to Thielen in the playoffs. 2020, very uneven. I thought there were times when he could have taken the Vikings down to win a game and he didn't, but the defense was bad too. Kind of a mixed bag. Last year, I really started to change my opinion on Kirk. He engineered several drives that put the Vikings in position to win a game, but they didn't because, kicker missed a field goal, defense yacked it up in the very last minute and a half or whatever. And that's not happening this year. The Vikings are playing complementary football when they kind of absolutely have to play complementary football. And a lot of that, I think, should be given credit to Kirk Cousins here.
And I don't think we can overemphasize the fact that, we've seen it more this year. And, this is, and I don't know exactly how far the relationship between Cousins and Zimmer had deteriorated the first 4 years that Cousins was here in Minnesota. But Kevin O'Connell has made it abundantly clear that he absolutely positively believes in Kirk Cousins as his quarterback. And I don't think you can overstate the importance of that when it comes to, you talked about the throw that got intercepted on the pass to Thielen. If Zimmer's on the sideline calling that play, I don't know if Cousins even attempts that throw. I think he takes the check down because, he's not going to go over to the sidelines and know that Mike Zimmer is going to try to tear him a new one. He's going to go back and look at the footage and whatnot and figure out what they did wrong. But, Kevin O'Connell has made it clear that he's got a completely different attitude about Kirk Cousins than Mike Zimmer had. And I don't think you can overstate how much that helps.
Drew, do you like this new Kirk Cousins? I mean, the statistics aren't what they were in 2020 and 2021. He's thrown more interceptions than he has the last couple of years to this point. Overall, are you happy with this new, more aggressive Kirk or whatever it is you want to call him?
First off, that is words of wisdom by Chris Gates. That is, that's really good. That 17-play drive, that's the difference of this year and last year. Cousins felt confident enough to make the passes he needed to make and make the plays he needed to make to get us down there to win the game. That's the difference in Kirk Cousins. That's the difference I've noticed all year is that he's got a little bit more confidence to not worry about what happens when he goes back to the sidelines.
Yes.
Chris said it well. He pretty much covered the whole thing, but Kirk Cousins, he is what he is. He's not going to get out of the pocket, but he's going to give you a chance. He's going to give you a chance. He made a lot of great passes. That pass to JJ where he lofted it left side, the
first half. Yeah.
That is a pass not a lot of guys are going to make.
I would argue Kirk is getting out of the pocket a little bit more this year. He had that run in the first half, and he had that big run, I think, on that 17-play drive that got the Vikings a first down.
I think the point I'm trying to make is when things start imploding, which they do with the Vikings quite a bit, when things start imploding, the wave, the tsunami doesn't cover Kirk Cousins and just drive him to the sideline of gloom.
Right.
That it makes him. I mean, that 17-play drive is something we should remember the whole season because we were all feeling that at this point we're going to lose. And he dug down deep with the rest of his teammates, and they figured out a way not only to get it down the field, but to score a touchdown. That's a huge difference than last year. Last year, that's not happening, Ted. It's not, Chris.
It wouldn't.
It's not happening.
Here's a comment from Nell77 in the live chat. And I think this is 100% true. In March, 50% of Vikings fans would have traded Kirk for Russell Wilson. I firmly believe that's true. There are so many people looking for a new guy. I'll admit I was a tear down and rebuild guy. Trade Kirk, get picks, and just implode this year, become the Bears, and let's get a bunch of cap space and get better 2-3 years down the road.
In March, 50% of Vikings fans would have traded Kirk for Flip Wilson, Justin Wilson, Woodrow Wilson, anybody. They just wanted that guy out of here bad.
Was Woodrow Wilson the president? Or was he not?
Look, in his defense, Woodrow Wilson had some bitching foreign policy choices.
You know what? Flip Wilson had a great show. I love that show.
He did.
Would have named Geraldine the offensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah, Geraldine.
And
call, Ted.
as long as we're going off on this tangent, I think I said it earlier. Can you guys hear the name of Bears wide receiver Velus Jones without thinking of Eddie Murphy? Because I can't. Seriously.
Not now. No, I can't now. No.
Hi, my name is Velus Jones. I mean,
It's good to know. I thought it was Marvin Jones. It's not. It's Velus Jones.
yes.
Oh, when Velus Jones got that touchdown, I was going, "Holy shit! What are we doing?"
Here's a good comment from Jay Johnson. I'm trying to get more comments as we go along.
No, that's good. That's good.
If a little more dangerous Kirky throws a few more interceptions and gets us to the big game, I will take that. Okay. I mean, I'm not sure the Vikings are at that level yet. I mean, they're 4-1 and they're good. And I think they're a lot better team than last year. We'll see. We'll see. I think the defense needs to get better. It needs to tighten up. This defense is just too soft for me right now.
Totally agree.
They got to figure out how to get Smith and Hunter into the backfield.
You know what?
Dropping it back in coverage.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, they got better personnel than what they're showing. Let's talk about what the hell happened from 21-3 to 22-21 Bears. I want your guys' thoughts on 21-3 to 22-21 Bears.
I would argue the Bears made plays, and they gave the Vikings an opportunity to get a bigger lead and maybe put the game away. We talked about they scored a touchdown and then tried that onside kick, and the Vikings could not capitalize it. I mean, the thing I'm learning still after even being a fan of this game for so many years is that teams adjust. And the Bears, I think, made better adjustments. And the one thing that is so important, the last 2 minutes of the first half and the first 2 minutes of the second half. And so far, up until today, the Vikings have won that part of the game. They've usually scored and usually kept other teams from scoring. Today, the Bears scored 14 points. I mean, they scored at the end of the first half, came right out. And maybe not the first 2 minutes of the second half, but the opening possession, they got the ball to open the second half and went right down and scored. And that made it a 21-16 game without the Vikings even doing much of anything. And I think that was the moment in the game. If the defense had been able to make a stop there, either hold, maybe give up a touchdown and a field goal or 2 field goals, it would have been a completely different feel and vibe to that game. But when the Bears went down and scored twice, and look, credit to them for doing it. I mean, that's tough to do, and they went right down the field and did that. So that was kind of the thing that sort of irritated me the most. And it was the defensive class, but then, the defense sort of got their sea legs. I mean, they didn't give them another touchdown after that. But then the offense kind of sputtered. We talk about them playing complementary football. They played very uncomplimentary football for the better part of a quarter and a half.
Sure.
No, I mean, the offense, they can't get both sides of the ball working at the same time. I mean, they did for a little while in the first half, but then, everything just sort of disappeared. And I'm not really sure what happened between 21-3 and 22-21, other than, like you said, the Bears getting to go into the locker room at halftime and noticing that the Vikings are doing a lot of the same stuff and not really changing anything and saying, well, this is what we can do to attack that. And that's what they did.
I wonder how the Vikings defensive players feel about this scheme and how it's being called. I honestly do, because if I was playing on that defense, I would look at the guys that we have.
It's a great point.
Man, we got some talent. Why are you having us drop our best pass rushers into coverage? Why are you? I don't understand. Make it make sense to me. And I'm not saying there's going to be like this open rebellion or anything like that. But I would wonder, the one thing Kevin O'Connell has talked about, and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, the GM, have both talked about, is this collaborative environment, this collaboration between the coaching staff and the players. I wonder if at some point the defensive players are going to go up to Ed Donatel and say, look, Ed, respect you as a coach. You've been in the NFL for over 30 years. but let us make plays, release the Kraken, let us do what we do. I would hope there was like a conversation along those lines, because it just feels like Ed Donatel is handcuffing his best players from making plays when they need to make plays.
That's a really, really, really great point. That is great.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
I agree. And it's like you kind of feel like the Vikings have too much talent on that side of the ball to be producing as little as they are.
Yeah.
It's like, you expect, I don't know, a little bit more smothering defense. I see a soft defense.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're soft, you're going to give up leads. It's like
they're trying to do the bend and don't break thing like we've seen so much over the years. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they've allowed a lot of yardage, but they really haven't allowed the kind of points you would usually associate with that much yardage. But I don't know how long that's sustainable for either.
I have a question. In the first quarter, they had Justin Fields lost.
Yeah.
100% confused. Not even 90%, 100% confused and not making any plays. And they had the Bears on the ropes. Why in the third quarter am I watching Justin Fields just operate as Warren Moon? What?
They were giving him time. I mean, they weren't really putting pressure on him. I mean, the last, when the Vikings pressured Fields, they didn't get home. Blacklock missed a sack. I think DJ Wanna missed a sack, and Fields broke contain and got some yards. That last possession is when they finally got home, forced a fumble. Time was burning, and then they had that Smith-Marset strip that Cam Dantzler got to seal the game. When they were getting home, when they were putting pressure on, they didn't get home, right. and they allowed Justin Fields to break contain. So I think Ed Donatel just said, well, look, let's just keep everything in front of us, and not give up the big play. And bend but don't break is fine if you don't break, but they broke.
So was it the fact that we were facing another mobile quarterback like Hurts? Was that the problem?
Partially, I think. I don't know, but
it wasn't a problem in the first quarter. It wasn't.
Well, because they were keeping Fields in the pocket and making him throw, and he was not making very accurate throws.
Just keep doing the same thing.
So I don't know. All right, look, we've been going close to an hour.
That's what she said.
Ruby, are you there?
I'm here.
You ready to spin your wheel of Toons' destiny?
Yes.
Ted woke her up.
To see who our prize winner is for today?
Here we go. Yes.
All righty.
Let's spin that wheel. I like the sound. Let's do the sound.
All right, ready?
We're ready.
Yeah, let's go.
Here we go. Nick Howard,
congratulations. Look, Nick, I think you've been a prize winner before. Go ahead and hit up Ruby via Vikings Report with Drew and Ted at gmail.com. She'll give you a link to the Vikings prize vault, and that'll let you pick a prize for today. Vikings go to 4-1. They head down to South Beach next week, face Miami. I don't know if you guys saw this today, but Tua's out with his concussion issues. Teddy Bridgewater got hurt today, the Dolphins' backup quarterback.
We're going studio this week, Ted. We'll have a studio show at the end of the week.
We are. So Tua and Teddy both might be out. If any luck, the Vikings will be facing a third-string quarterback. But Drew and I are going to talk all about that in our studio show, because Vikings Report, Drew and Ted, returns Friday morning, 10 a.m. Central Time, right here on your favorite YouTube channel.
Yeah!
I'm pretty fired up about it.
Me too.
Christopher, why don't you give us our final thoughts and get us out of here?
No, I think you said it best at the top of the broadcast. I mean, ugly 4-1 is better than a pretty 1-4. And, that's where we are right now. We're 3-0 in the division. Got an opportunity to maybe push things to 5-1 before the bye week. And it's hard not to be happy with where this team is right now, even though there are still plenty of other things that they need to improve on. And I think those things are going to continue to improve. And, we haven't seen the best of this football team yet, and they're still 4-1, which is a pretty positive place to be at 5 weeks into the season, I think.
Drew,
Who's in first place in the North, Ted?
the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah. Doesn't matter how he got there. Like Grandpa Joe said in Willy Wonka, who cares how he got the golden ticket as long as he got it?
Mhm.
Sure, they have things to work on. Sure, they have areas to work on. But they are figuring out how to win in games that are questionable.
Yes.
They are figuring out how to win in the end. Detroit, Saints, and today with the Bears. They are figuring out a way to get the W. And that's huge with the team morale.
Yes. Look, 4-1 is better than 1-4. And I believe I'd have to look, but this team either started out 2 or 3 and 1-4 last year. And I'd have to look at the standings, but 4-1, I think puts the Vikings in first place. And like Chris said, look, there's a lot of work the Vikings need to do. I'm not going to sit here and say this team is Super Bowl bound, but I'll tell you what, they're figuring out ways to win football games. And this team in 2021 and 2020 could not figure out how to win football games. They couldn't.
Right.
I would much rather take a sloppy win over a brutal, sloppy loss. And if they'd have lost to the Bears today, it would have been an absolutely brutal, sloppy loss. But they won. And they're 4-1, and they're in first place. They're 3-0 in the division. The Packers lost today, and they lost a division, or not a divisional game, but a conference game, which is huge for playoff implications down the road as well. Vikings are in first place by a game plus tiebreaker. And and they're heading to Miami next week, with Miami potentially being down their top 2 quarterbacks. So
Screw Miami. We're gonna
kick
their ass.
They got a good chance to be 5-1, but we'll talk about that next week. So for Christopher Gates, for Drew Bunning, for Ruby Bunning, thanks so much for watching. Skol Vikings, and we will see you on Friday.